Welcome to the Wealth Pocket. Freedom is one of the most advertised ideas in modern society. You are told you are free. Free to choose a career. Free to choose where you live. Free to choose what you buy. But there is a hidden condition nobody mentions. Freedom is extremely expensive. And most people cannot afford it. Not because they are lazy. Not because they lack intelligence. But because the system quietly raises the price of freedom every year. And the truth is simple. Most people will spend their entire lives working for freedom they will never actually experience. The illusion of choice. Modern society is built on a powerful illusion. The illusion of choice. From childhood, people are told they can become anything. Doctor, lawyer, entrepreneur, artist. The options appear limitless. But underneath this illusion, the structure of life is already designed. Go to school. Follow instructions. Memorize information. Pass exams. Obey authority. This pattern slowly trains the brain to associate safety with obedience. And by the time adulthood arrives, most people are not asking a dangerous question. They are not asking, how do I become free? Instead they ask, how do I survive comfortably inside the system? And the system rewards that question. The real cost of freedom. Freedom has a cost that few people are willing to pay. The cost is uncertainty. Most people believe money is the main barrier to freedom. It is not. The real barrier is psychological. Because freedom removes something most humans depend on. Predictability. A job provides predictable income. A salary arrives on schedule. Bills can be planned. Life becomes structured. Freedom removes that structure. Income becomes unpredictable. Risk becomes constant. Decisions become personal responsibility. And for many people, that level of responsibility feels dangerous. So they choose something safer. They choose stability over freedom. The salary trap. The salary system appears safe. But it quietly creates dependence. A salary is not just money. It is permission to survive. Every month, survival is approved again. But there is a hidden rule inside this arrangement. Your time must be exchanged first. Before you are paid, you must show up. Before you are paid, you must obey. Before you are paid, you must ask permission to leave. This structure slowly converts time into currency. But time is the one resource that never returns. And over decades, the exchange becomes extreme. Thousands of hours traded, for survival, for comfort, for security, but rarely for freedom. The comfort prison. Most systems do not control people with force. They control people with comfort. A small apartment, reliable food, internet access, entertainment, vacations once or twice per year. These comforts are enough to prevent rebellion. But they are not enough to create freedom. Instead, they create a comfortable prison. People are not starving, but they are not free either. And the system operates perfectly in this middle zone. Because dissatisfaction never becomes large enough to trigger escape. Debt, the invisible cage. Debt is one of the most powerful control mechanisms ever created. It appears helpful. It appears supportive. But debt quietly transforms the future. When someone accepts debt, they sell a portion of their future time. Future labor becomes pre-sold. Mortgages, car loans, credit cards, student loans. Each obligation locks future income into predetermined directions. And once enough obligations exist, something interesting happens. Risk becomes impossible. Leaving a job becomes dangerous. Starting a business becomes unrealistic. Exploring freedom becomes irresponsible. The cage is now complete. And the door was locked voluntarily. Why most people never escape? Escaping the system requires something rare, delayed comfort. Most people want freedom eventually. But they also want comfort immediately. These two desires often conflict. Freedom requires sacrifice first. Less spending, less consumption, less external validation, while others upgrade cars, houses, and lifestyles. Those seeking freedom often do the opposite. They reduce, they simplify, they invest, they build leverage. But this path looks strange to society. And social pressure quietly pushes people back into normal patterns. The leverage gap. The wealthy rarely rely on time alone. They use leverage. Leverage multiplies effort. Examples include businesses, investments, technology, ownership. While employees trade time directly for income, Owners build systems that generate income without their constant presence. This difference changes everything, because time is limited, but leverage can scale, and the moment income disconnects from hours, freedom becomes mathematically possible. The fear barrier. Even when people understand this truth, another barrier appears. Fear. Fear of instability. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of losing status. Society quietly punishes people who step outside the expected path. Questions appear immediately. Why would you leave a stable job? Are you sure that's safe? What if it fails? These questions are rarely malicious, but they reinforce the system's boundaries. And over time, most people slowly retreat back into familiarity. Time, the hidden currency. Money is replaceable. Time is not. Every hour spent working for survival is an hour removed from freedom. But the tragedy is not the hours themselves. The tragedy is awareness. Most people only recognize the cost of time decades later. When energy decreases, when opportunities narrow, when obligations grow larger, freedom always becomes harder with time. Which is why the wealthy focus on a single objective early. Ownership. The small minority. A small percentage of people pursue freedom aggressively. They accept risk. They tolerate uncertainty. They delay lifestyle upgrades. They build systems slowly. Years of invisible effort accumulate. And eventually something changes. Income appears without constant labor. Time expands. Options multiply. This is the moment freedom begins. But by the time it happens, most observers believe it appeared suddenly. They did not see the invisible decade that created it. Why society needs workers. The system cannot function if everyone becomes free. Every structure requires participants, employees, operators, managers, consumers. If everyone pursued freedom, entire industries would collapse. So the system naturally encourages stability, security, predictability, and gradual improvement. These values maintain order, but they rarely create independence. The true price of freedom. Freedom requires 3 sacrifices: comfort, approval, certainty. Most people are willing to sacrifice one. Some can sacrifice 2. Very few sacrifice all 3. Which is why freedom remains rare. Not because it is impossible, but because the price feels extreme. Closing. Freedom is not a motivational concept. It is an economic outcome. It appears only when 3 conditions exist: ownership, leverage, time control. Without these elements, freedom remains theoretical, and the system continues operating exactly as designed. Most people will continue trading time for security. Some will build leverage slowly. A very small number will eventually exit the system entirely. Not because they worked harder, but because they understood a simple truth. Freedom is expensive, and most people choose not to pay the price.